Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Hall. You may call me Dr. Kennard. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. We cover news, the world falling apart. No, the world isn't. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I'm going to let you decide, everyone, right? We're going to cover a bunch of stories today. Yeah. We're going to talk about a Jewish couple being denied services because they're Jewish. It's a story of religious freedom, and only in this Orwellian country here in the United States of America, it's religious freedom, meaning that we're going to persecute people we don't agree with because they have a different vision of God. We're also going to be talking about Ukraine. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about Ukraine a bit yesterday, and I thought, well, it's good to revisit it since we're probably going to be hearing a bit more about it over the next couple of weeks, right? And we're going to be talking about Donald J. Trump being in trouble in New York. That's our feel-good story, by the way, everyone. All right, let's just get right into it. Here is, well, they only wanted to adopt a kid. That's what they were. They weren't trying to order from Chick-fil-A. They weren't trying to order a corned beef sandwich at Chick-fil-A. They weren't doing anything, suspicious. They weren't doing anything egregious. They weren't doing anything else with that us kind of suffix. They just wanted to adopt a kid. Denied services from a Christian organization. Let's get right. Links are in the description below, everyone. Links are in the description. Tennessee-based adoption agency refuses to help couple because they're Jewish. This is from the Knoxville News Sentinel, a local periodical there in Tennessee. A Knoxville couple is suing the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, saying a state-sponsored Christian-based adoption agency refused to help them because they are Jewish. It is the state's first lawsuit to challenge a new law that allows religious adoption agencies to deny services to families whose religious or moral beliefs aren't in sync with the providers, the family's attorney told Knox News on Wednesday. The adoption agency, the Holston United Methodist Methodist Home for Children, based in Greenville, Tennessee, denied Elizabeth and Gabriel Rutan-Ram from acquiring Tennessee-mandated foster parent training and a home study certification as they attempted to adopt a child from Florida last year. Rutan-Ram say, look, if you're ever thought about, or if you ever started the process or went through the process for adopting or having a foster child in your home, yeah, there's a class. My ex-wife, actually, who is a social worker, used to teach people how to, be responsible parents, right? Because if you're having people fostering potentially behaviorally needy kids who have issues, you want them to have a good toolkit, right? That makes sense. I feel like it felt like I was punched in the gut, Rutan said in a news release. It was the first time I felt discriminated against because I am Jewish. It was very shocking, and it was very hurtful that the agency seemed to think that a child would be better off in a state of custody than with a loving family like us. The Rutan-Rams are currently fostering and hope to adopt a teenage girl through a separate agency. The lawyer told to Knox News they would also like to adopt another child in the future. And this is what happened when they actually tried, when they were going through the process. After realizing they could not have a biological child of their own, in early 2021, the couple located a child in Florida. They were excited about fostering with plans to adopt. They say they were initially told by Holston that the organization would help them with their out-of-state placement. However, on the day, listen to this, on the day they were to begin their training, the organization told them it only serves families who share their Christian belief system, the lawsuit says. The couple was not able to complete the process to become a foster parents to the child. So here it is. On the day they were going to get trained, on the day they were told, sorry, You're a little bit too, you don't believe in Jesus Christ as the Messiah. You don't believe in a triumvirate God. You know, a God, three gods in one, three gods in one. Sorry, so that means we can't offer you services, even though this organization takes taxpayer money. Even though the organization takes taxpayer money, everyone. Gonna check out the chat. You know, and here's the thing, and when you hear Fox News, when you hear any other conservative news outlet say Judeo-Christian morals, that should set up some kind of like alarm in your head, because those are lies. Those are lies. Judeo-Christian morals, because what evangelical fascists believe in is their particular brand of Christianity. There's been a ton of people who have gone through this, who I've talked to on this channel, who were evangelicals, and one of the questions I love to ask them out: do you think Catholics, when you believed, did you believe that Catholics were Christians? Because I have to tell you, when I was growing up Baptist, very sus on Catholics, on whether or not they were really Christian. And if you talk honestly to a lot of to evangelicals, and they're honest with you, they will say Catholics, not really Christian. So that's what the lies. And of course, I'm just popping off here on this story because it angers me so much. I'm going to see what you all think about in the chat. I hope you're all doing well this morning. Well, Julie, you had me at wine and reason. Sounds like a pretty sweet combination, to tell you the truth. What's up, Glenn Chesterton? I hope you're doing well this morning. Minus 22 Celsius here. You know, it was a Jeopardy question last night about the gentleman who created the Fahrenheit scale. And my girlfriend and I were watching it. And she didn't know the gentleman's name was actually Fahrenheit. So she turns to me and it's like, he named the scale after himself? Yes, that's what he did. A little bit of geek. I don't know if anyone else watches Jeopardy here, but good morning, Jess M. Good morning. That a religious organization is involved in an adoption comes as a shock to me. Here it is in the States. This is just how things run. You know, when you don't have a functioning government, when you don't have a government that supplies basic services, they rely on non-governmental organizations. It is a sign that the system is not working. Just having that to begin with, having religious organizations provide basic human services, it is disgusting. That's what it is. There's no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. That's right. There isn't. All right. John Hudson, glad to see that you're here. Both, you know, this is exactly what I said, actually, Blazing, when the Jeopardy question came up. It's like, you know, if you're agitated about Fahrenheit, I have something to tell you about Lord Kelvin. Jakarta, good morning, Facebook user. You know, I can only see you as Facebook user. I can't see your name. If you come over to YouTube, it's easier. The interface is easier. That's all I'm saying here. All right. Let's see. Blazing says Anders Celsius invented the Celsius temperature, and William Thomson, first Baron Kelvin, invented Kelvin. Indeed, Blazing. Smart people in the chat, as always. Smart people in the chat. Okay. Did I get my rage out about what's going on in Tennessee? I got a little bit of it out. I don't know if you're like me, that you think of, you know, the rage kind of goes for a little bit, and then it comes when you think about it again a little bit later. Yeah. But let's talk about something. That's right, the Richter scale too. Let's talk about Ukraine for a couple of minutes, right? Because it's going to be in the news more and more than likely. I don't know if you heard this story, is that the Russians are putting more troops on the Belarusian border, saying that there's going to be war games next month. So if you can, and I don't have a proper map of Ukraine to show you, but if you can imagine what Ukraine is bordered by, of course, Russia to the east, Belarus, which is a close ally of Russia to the north. And believe it or not, you may not remember this, everyone, that there's Moldavia, which is a satellite. I'm just going to call it what it is. These are satellite states. Yes, I'm bringing the USSR back because that's what Putin wants to do. Is that Moldova is basically a Russian satellite state. It's sandwiched in between of Romania and the Ukraine. So Ukraine isn't totally surrounded by Russian states, because it's also bordered by Poland, of course, but there's a lot of Russia around Ukraine, just geopolitically speaking. Here we go. Wrong piece. Let's talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden and Ukraine tension. Biden says he thinks Putin will move in. Look, everyone, I thought Putin was going to move in during New Year's. I thought that would have been the logical place, the logical time for Putin to move in, because there's been a number of attacks that have occurred on New Year's or Christmas, around holidays where people aren't really expecting an attack. He didn't. Maybe he's looking to squeeze NATO for more concessions, or maybe he's just looking to get his ducks in place before actually invading. Link in the description below. Ukraine tension. Here we go. Next. Asked at a news conference about the threat of a Russian invasion, he, as in the state's president here, Mr. Biden, said, "My guess is he will move in. He has to do something." The thing is about Joe Biden is that he does talk a lot. He really loves talking, and I think that doesn't help him a lot. Joe Biden is one of those people that should be just given bullet points to recite, practice a number of times. And I don't think he talks well from the hip. He doesn't shoot well from the hip, so to speak, when he speaks off the fly. But he warned that the Russian leader would pay a serious and dear price for testing the West. Moscow denies planning to attack or invade, but has built up its forces. It is estimated to have about 100,000 troops close to Ukraine's borders. Just to give you, and those are just official borders too. Of course, Ukraine already has been invaded. There are Russian troops in Sevastopol, the Crimea. There are also, of course, Russian troops as well as militias in what I'm calling East Ukraine. Right. Once again, we're bringing it back to the Cold War kind of terms, because that's what Putin is trying to do. He is trying to create what is effectively East Ukraine, and he already has 2 provinces under his control. So there are already troops in there. And if you're wondering how many troops are in the Ukraine's military, I just did a cursory look, and it looks like they're under 300,000 for the entire country, and that includes Army, Navy, Air Force, Special Forces. Another interesting point is that even though the Russian economy is smaller than Italy's, once again, my quick cursory search is that the Ukrainian economy not doing too well in and of itself. Of course, having parts of its, landmass being seized by Russia, some of the most affluent, not affluent, but the Crimea, it just made the country a lot of money, and that was gone in 2014. The Russians took it. All right. White House officials later issued a statement clarifying the U.S. position after some reporters in the news conference questioned Mr. Biden about whether the U.S. would allow a small incursion following his comments. In a statement issued on Wednesday night, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki said, "If any Russian military forces move across the Russian border, that's a renewed invasion, and it will be met with swift, severe, and united response from the United States and our allies." Russia has made a raft of demands to Western governments, including that Ukraine should never join NATO and that the defense alliance's military activities should be limited to in member states, including Poland. Talks between West and Russia last week failed to reach a breakthrough, with some of Moscow's demands rejected as non-starters. So there's two ways of thinking. There's several ways of thinking about this, but the two most popular ones is that Putin listed extreme positions so that he could invade. He'd have any pretext to invade. Another way of thinking about it is that Putin did the old Trump strategy, which is highballing, making demand so high, and then just being happy with whatever he gets. I'm prone to think it's more of the former, as in he's just making demands, knowing that he won't get what he wants, so he can just take off a couple of more slices of Ukraine. Last panel, everyone. Just bring everyone up to speed. Russia annexed Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula in 2014 after the overthrow of a pro-Russian government in Ukraine. It has supported pro-Russian rebels who control parts of eastern Ukraine in a bloody war with government forces. There are fears that the conflict, which has cost at least 13,000 lives and cost at least 2 million people to flee their homes, may reignite with the Russian military openly intervening. We are running really late today because this show lasts until 9:25. But this is the first story was really important about a Jewish couple being denied services in Tennessee, and of course this Ukraine thing. The big issue, the big problem, of course, is that when people start shooting at each other, when forces start moving into other countries, things can escalate in ways that were not planned. Am I thinking about World War I, the echoes of World War I? Sure. Just miscalculations led into a major conflict. Checking out the chat. Eden's, good morning, Eden's Aquaponics. Being on mobile, I don't have autocomplete for users, so that's oh, crappy connection from Jakarta does not help. Sorry to hear that. Moldova is not a satellite state. They speak Romanian, but a breakaway Russian. They broke away because of the Russians, because the Russians helped them do their dirty little civil war. Let's see. I think I'm caught up with everyone. It isn't halftime. We've gone way beyond halftime. So now we're going to do the halftime Tommy Reb show, even though we're 2/3 way through the show. Let's do this thing. Cats just being cats, everyone. That's all cats are doing. Cats being cats. Last story, and we're going to talk about Donald J. Trump, former president of the United States. Possibly, perhaps, someday in jail. I mean, that's my dream. If I had a dream, it would be every citizen of the United States of America with a full set of teeth, basic health care for all, and of course, Donald J. Trump in prison. Here it is. New York Attorney General says investigation into Trump and his business found significant evidence suggesting fraud. A new court filing says Trump and his 2 children were in charge when misleading financial statements were issued to lenders and the federal government. Look, if you know anything about Donald J. Trump, he just borrowed a ton of money and then it was a long history of not paying his debts, a long history of issues with banks. And are the birds coming home to roost? Maybe, perhaps. New York Attorney General Letitia James disclosed new details Tuesday night about her civil investigation into former President Donald Trump's business, saying that the probe has uncovered evidence suggesting the company put fraudulent claims on multiple assets and misrepresented those values to financial institutions for economic benefit. James, who launched her investigation in 2019, also said in the court filing that the former president had ultimate authority over a wide swath of conduct by the Trump organization that involved fraudulent misstatements to financial institutions, the IRS, and other parties. Specifically mentioned the responsibility of 2 of the former president's adult children, Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump. It's hard to imagine those 2 doing anything illegal or or untruthiness. Since 2017, Donald Trump Jr. has had authority over numerous financial statements containing misleading asset valuations, James wrote in a court filing. Ivanka Trump, a former White House advisor, was a primary contact for the Trump organization's largest lender, Deutsche Bank, James wrote. In connection with this work, Ms. Trump caused misleading financial statements to be submitted to Deutsche Bank and the federal government. Of course, this is an unfolding story, and we're going to be covering this over the next couple of weeks, months, who knows how long, up until the thing is done. All right, look at me, going to close out the show on time, and I thought we were going to be late. Checking out the chat. Trump is in real estate. Tesla Ranger. You'd think he'd know the value of his own buildings. Well, the thing is, when you're bleeding cash, when you are incompetent, that you always want more cash, because it's like filling a bucket with a hole in it, right? It's like having a bucket and you're putting water into it. This is the analogy. This is the metaphor, by the way, but it doesn't matter how much you put in because there's a hole in it. And Donald J. Trump in this metaphor would have poked that hole in the bucket through his own incompetency. Loan and tax fraud. That's right, John Hudson. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to see him in jail for that. Cats are going to cat. That's right. Julia Wine and Reason. Let's see. Well, this is true. His bucket hasn't just holed. It has no bottom. Interesting. I like to compare Donald J. Trump with Caesar, sometimes Julius Caesar, is that Julius Caesar spent a lot of money getting to where he was in the then Roman Republic. I believe he came close to bankruptcy because he just paid people off. All right. We're going to do another cat video before closing out the show, everyone. Once again, no ads on this channel. No ads on this channel. It's all funded by YouTube members, all by patrons, people who throw me a couple of pennies on PayPal or Venmo. Links are in the description below. Thank you very much. And look, if you cannot contribute because, times are tough, what you could do is, of course, tell someone about the show, right? Or you could share one of my funny articles that I write on Only Sky, I'm going to say this right now, the world's largest secular site. I think it's the world's largest secular site. We just launched, by the way, but we have such heavy, big names on Only Sky. But if you go onto Only Sky, if you check out my, any of my funny little posts, my little bits that I write, if you share those, that would be fantastic too. I would appreciate it. All right, let's do a cat video.
I've given up drinking coffee for good. I now only drink it for evil.
I like drinking coffee for evil. Actually, I just like doing it just for the sake of doing it, everyone. All right. I'm going to see you all at 9:30. 9:30 is the open room for Democrats, atheists, progressives. If you want to join in, the link is in the description below. Hope to see you at 9:30, everyone. And the show goes from 9:30 to 10:30. Take care.